Good morning, everybody. I'm Oliver Joyce, and welcome to round 4 of the Ask Me Anything series, where you guys write in comments in the YouTube channel and I answer them. So we'll be doing this for the next hour or so, but I'll probably divide it into a 2-part video, just because I know that attention spans sort of waver after a certain time, and I can only talk for so long before going a bit mad. So we will probably pause about halfway through. We'll see how we go. We've got about 90 questions to get through, and some of them are multi-part ones, which is pretty awesome. So thank you, everybody, for writing in with your questions. Much appreciated. We've got a lot to get through. One of the things with these videos is a lot of the answers can become repetitive. If you've seen a few of these, you probably know the answer to a lot of these videos, but there are also a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so you may not have heard some of these answers. I don't really do any research here. It's all just from the top of my head. So if I seem a bit rambling, that's a little insight into my mindset. So without further ado, let's jump in with the first question from my friend Not Today Death, who writes, "You have no idea how much of an impact you made in my life as a kid, and literally millions like me. Your project was extremely successful and fun. I just wanted to thank you for making my childhood better." That's really nice. What a great way to start. I swear I didn't write that. That's a really cool comment, and it's actually got a bunch of upvotes there. That's really nice. Thank you, my friend. I never really dreamed it would be as big as it is, and it's still a pretty niche game series. A lot of people don't know about it. You mentioned to the common person Swords and Sandals, and they'll have no idea what you're talking about. But there's enough people out there that do. So I want to thank you and everyone else out there who played these games as kids, just for allowing me to do this still. It's humbling. Chudinsky Svorniko, sorry, I just butchered your name, writes true. And Mr. Happy Pineapple also writes same here. So they're all in agreement. Thanks, guys. From Name or Name, he writes, "The fact that Penguins, with a Z, played the game brought back much nostalgia, and I wanted to see more of Sword and Sandals. Never stop doing what you love and keep making these games that made my childhood awesome." Thanks, man. That's and what a wonderful start to this session. I haven't really answer any questions, and you guys make me feel so good. Penguins, also known as Critical, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm really old. I'd never heard of this guy. I'd seen one video of him some years back where he instant coffee, that'll keep you going in the morning. I saw a video of his a while back where he totally ripped shreds off some YouTube streamer, and he has a really sarcastic, quite a funny, hard-hitting presentation, really droll and really quite enjoyable. I had no idea he was that big. He's got 4.5 million subscribers, and when he did the videos on the Swords and Sandals classic games and of course Swords and Sandals 5, that had a big impact. I'm not going to lie. For the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, sales have really gone up. It's been awesome. It's really, we're not rich. I'm not rich. I'm just doing this part-time still. But it's certainly getting me closer to that dream of being able to do Swords and Sandals full-time, which I'm really hoping to get done in the next sort of year and a half is the exit strategy. And that's when things will really become big. But he's awesome. I've had a chat to Charlie Penguins on Twitter. We've had a few messages backwards and forwards, and he's agreed to become part of the Swords and Sandals franchise in a small way. We're going to make an arena champion of him in Swords and Sandals 6, which could be kind of tricky because the character he goes with in the Swords and Sandals series is, cover your ears, parents, Cock Juicer. I'm sure that's something to do with roosters and nothing off about that. So we'll figure out a way to bring that arena champion. Maybe it'll be something else. Maybe it'll be the Penguin Lord or something. But he's going to be working with me on Sword and Sandals 6 with his arena champion. He's also going to contribute a bunch of yells and screams to the game as a voice set. So you'll be able to choose to use his screams if you want, or some enemy gladiators might use those. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, to answer that statement thing, Penguins has made a big difference to Swords and Sandals, and we're seeing a real upward trend in popularity, which YouTube is the lifeblood of this series. Without them, there is no series. That's the main way I can publicize these games. I do ads and so on, but no, like you can't pay for that kind of publicity. It's insane. Long answer. We could be here a long time. So Charles writes, "Hello there, hello there." The Obi-Wan voice. Hello there, hello there. Uncle Charlex here, who writes, "What's your statement on Cyberpunk 2K77, which of course is the new CD Projekt Red Rect? I can't remember. Those are the guys who did The Witcher, and this is their new steampunk / Blade Runner style game. It looks awesome. It looks so cool. The amount of detail in this game is phenomenal. Go check it out on YouTube if you get a chance. Cyberpunk 2K77. It's delayed, I think. I don't know if it's coming out this year. I know they said it might be, but it's a really detailed world, and they have put a lot of time and effort into it. I believe these guys when they say, they'll deliver. Unlike Bethesda and Skyrim and those kind of games, I'm actually a little bit out on those games. I feel like those ones never really live up to the promise. They're full of bugs and they're fun, but they feel like kind of hack jobs in some ways. But I feel like this Polish studio, CD Projekt Red, I'm going to call it that, they do a really polished job. And The Witcher was amazing, and I think Cyberpunk will be awesome too. So looking forward to it. Don't know if I'll get much time to play it. I've got a 2-year-old kid, and I do a lot of game dev and stuff. So the days of making big role-playing game or playing big role-playing games may sadly be behind me for a little while. He also asks, what do you think about creating advanced lore for Sword and Sandals 6? Yeah, I'm planning on doing a lot more in the lore for that series. I've got to write the tome of lore completely. If you go to swordandsandals.com now, I've moved everything over there. You will be seeing a lot more lore for that series in coming months and years. There's still a ton to add to the lore before we get to Sword and Sandals 6, because there's a big gap between Sword and Sandals 5 and 6 and what went on. And I also want to kind of flesh out the world a little bit. There's not a lot of information about all the different lands and even what's going on politically and the characters and just the history. I want to do a bit more of that, because I had a few people ask about the campaigns they want to make for Dungeons and Dragons. They want to do a few short stories and things like that, which I'm all for. I'm totally welcome all that sort of stuff. And anything you write, please send to me. So I want to do a bit more of that once I finish Crusader. I actually did a big long chapter on the Crusader stuff for the Tome of Lore. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. It just makes a bit more sense and kind of fleshes out the Crusader story. And there's like pages and pages on the final battle. So that was the Tolkien in me, the bad fantasy writer in me that wants to do that. He has another question. Also writes, "Is Sword and Sandals 6 going to be heavy and hard production as other companies' multiplayer games are longly expanded? Is Sword and Sandals 6, will that be a last game of production, and will that be the end?" I hope not. It's definitely a kind of a crossroads in this series. If it does very well, I can potentially bring on more staff, hire a couple other artists, developer, that kind of thing, really expand this series. If it doesn't do so well, that's not the end of days, but it means I kind of have to go back to the drawing board, because maybe people are tired of Gladiator games. I know there's a lot of people that enjoy the brand or world and everything, but it might not be enough to kind of sustain the series the way I want it to. Also, I want to make a kind of a few other style games as well. There's a wrestling game I want to make, pro wrestling. There's a few other interesting secret projects I want to work on, but I'd like to keep working on Swords and Sandals forever, ideally. So hopefully that's not the end. Thanks for the questions, Charles. So it's over 666 writes, here's a question. In Sword and Sandals 1, the slave driver dies in the tournament, but how come he's alive in the second game? Does he have a grudge against the main character? Weirdly enough, all the arena champions and major characters in Sword and Sandals kind of don't really die. There's kind of a bit of a MacGuffin here that basically says healing is possible in Sword and Sandals. You can cheat death if you have enough money and access to enough medicines. The arena itself, the Doomtrek arena, has of course access to the dark arts of necromancy, and Antares himself can raise the dead. And so he kind of works together with the gladiators to raise the popular ones from the dead if they get defeated. And if the slave driver was not a popular one, he was brought back by Antares to basically, run the pits under the arena and so on, and make sure all the prisoners were building out the tunnels and getting ready for his undead army. But when, by the time he died, he was so unpopular that Antares just said, "No, I'm done with this guy," and he didn't come back. But yeah, the slave driver definitely have a grudge against the character in the second one, because he really resents the fact that the gladiator became so popular. But the gladiator in the second game and the one in the first game are quite different. They're two different ones. One of them is called the gladiator, and one of them is called Nameless. And there's some stories on them in the Tome of Law, so check that out. Detiabar writes, "Why are you so interested in the medieval era? And also, thanks for making the games." Thanks for playing them. The medieval era and the ancient world era, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Persia, has always interested me. I grew up on stories of Greek mythology. I read fantasy stories as a kid, the Dragonlance books, the Lord of the Rings, the Belgariad, the Raymond Weiss Mid-Chemia series, all that sort of stuff really stuck with me. And then as a sort of a teenager, I got quite into the Crusades, and I'm still into that. I still read books about all that sort of stuff. So I've tried to kind of create Brando as a bit of a fusion of the ancient world and the medieval world, and that there's castles and the sort of medieval technology like crossbows and catapults and things, but they still kind of go around in Roman togas, and they have arena combat and stuff. So it's a bit of a mishmash, and there's the fantasy element of monsters and things. To answer the question, I think the medieval era is just fascinating to me because it's so different than our own. There's the fake ideals of chivalry, that may never have really existed. The King Arthur thing is a mythos; it's myth, but it's sort of something that we kind of look back and romanticize, even though reality would have been pretty different, pretty brutal. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of an escapism for me. A lot of people escape into sci-fi and the future, and I like to escape into the past. So definitely fake, not the real. Grant O'Brien writes, "Hello, Oliver, back after some time. Hello, my friend. I want to ask something regarding frame rates from your games. How smooth are the Redux games and originals in terms of that? Frame rates being how smooth does a game look on the screen? Does it look like a bit jittery and that kind of thing?" Well, I'm not going to lie. The originals have frame rate issues, which is surprising, right? Given that they're so old. But they're limited by the technology of the day. So back in the day, the games were made in Flash. And Flash, you could set the frame rate, but the computer wouldn't always keep up. And what they didn't have was graphics acceleration. So all the games today have GPU acceleration to take the load off the computer. But Flash is done in a weird way in that it's all using vector animations. It's all maths calculations to draw these characters. And so all the gladiators and so on, all done in vector animations in a window this big. But what I've done is I've stretched the screen out this big, which makes the calculations bigger, weirdly enough. And therefore, even on a beast machine like my own one, sometimes you get frame rate issues if you run at full screen especially. And unfortunately, there's just no way around that. I can't make them any better. I wish I could, but because they're so old, they just will drop frames in certain points. And it's a shame, but they're always like that. You can try turning the graphics detail down in some games and also running it in a window. The Redux games, however, should run very nice and very fast on modern computers. They're designed with graphics acceleration in mind, and they are graphics accelerated. And on your average desktop PC, they will run fine. You'll have no frame rate issues. So from Glackett said, "I don't have anything to ask you, but I will just say you are a legend, my man." Thank you. You, my friend, are a legend. And these Ask Me Anythings, I gotta admit, they're an ego boost. I feel pretty good reading them. I mean, we don't make games for the ego, and if we did, in generally, we'd be pretty humbled because most of the time, the games myself and other game devs make fail miserably, and many of my games have not succeeded. So when you hear people say I'm a legend, I appreciate that, and you guys are great. You guys are the legends. I'm just a humble game developer, but thanks anyway. Next question. We could be here a while. We've been going 15 minutes, so this may be a multi-part. We'll see. I got to speed these up, don't Debeshko writes, do you know Gothic the RPG? And if yes, do you like it? I have read about this book. I've got a book called The Complete Guide to Role-Playing Games, to CRPGs. It's by a guy called Felipe Pepe. It's a hardcover book, and you can actually download a PDF of it, but it goes through all the old role-playing games from the early 80s up until 2016 or so when the book came out. And Gothic 1, 2, they might even did Gothic 3, I believe, is one of them. I never played it. It looked pretty cool though. It's sort of 3D, has a lot of depth to it, and the world's pretty cool. They gave it a pretty interesting review. So never played it though. He also asks, what's your favorite way to tackle Sword and Sandals 3? Charisma, magic, or strength? For me, it's almost always strength. I smash out strength and attack. And so I basically hit hard and then just get better armor. Magic is a pretty powerful option for a lot of people though. P.S. Love your games, and greetings from Germany. Greetings back to Germany, beautiful country. I've been there a couple of times. I have some friends from Germany, from the very north, up near Aurich, right up on the border of Holland. Germany's beautiful. You guys are the best. And beautiful food and beautiful drink as well. German beers, love them. Hopefully get back there someday. Mini Pixels writes, hey Oliver, you might remember me from telling you to add a funny language to Spartacus called Aussie. Yes. Thank you for that, because I did add that. I ended up adding that to Spartacus. In Spartacus, you can choose, Polish and Czech and Brazilian Portuguese and a bunch of other languages. Thanks to a lot of the translators from the Discord channel who actually did those. But someone, Mini Pixels, actually suggested I should do an Aussie language, and so I did. Which basically, Aussie is just English, but sort of done with a silly accent, and it kind of, there's a lot of Australianisms like, oh, g'day, mate, better get out there and do battle, eh? Or, oh, geez, I'm tired, struth. It basically ends up sounding like, Crocodile Dundee or Russell Crowe, something like that. But he's from New Zealand, Russell Crowe, who knew? He has a question. Sword and Sandals 1 was released in 2005. Jeez. Do you know the date was for the month? See, I can't even remember. I thought it was 2006, but maybe it was even earlier, which means it'd be 15 years ago. I don't remember. It was so long ago. When were you born? How old are you now? I was born many years ago. See this gray in the beard? Many years ago. What's kind of funny is probably the age you guys are now is kind of when I first started making this. So I was born in 1978. In the 70s, can you believe it? But long before the internet, long before iPhones, long before Nintendo Wiis and PlayStations and all that. I'm old. I'm 41. And I have a wife and a kid now, and I'm basically middle-aged. Kind of scary. You never really think of yourself as being old, but one day you wake up and your back aches, and I still have a lot of fun though. I still try to do everything that I tried to do when I was younger. Can't do as much as fast, but nothing really changes with age. I'll look back in 10, 20, 30 years and look at myself at 40 and go, you weren't young. I mean, you weren't old then, you were young. And my parents and my wife's parents and so on still travel around the world and have lots of adventures and so on. So hopefully we can all grow old. So when you guys are playing Swords and Sandals, you were probably, a lot of you have been 8, 9, 10 years old, 20, 15 years ago. And so you're now kind of the age that I am now. Well, then. I don't have that much to ask, but I can ask, how have you been doing lately? Thank you, man. Thanks for asking. I'm doing really well. My back is sore because I'm getting old, as per that last question, but working hard in Crusader. I work on this stuff 3 days a week. Life is great in general. I love my little boy, Isaac. I love my wife. I worry for the world a little with, the fires we've had in Australia and, the constant sort of right-wing narrative that we have with our politicians and, the coronavirus pandemics that's sort of coming out, But I guess the problem really is not so much that the world is worse, but it's just we have so much access to bad news these days. And the world has always been full of, light and dark, in the 20th century, there was two massive world wars, for example, and there was the Spanish flu that killed, I don't know, 100 million people or something ridiculous in 1918. So there's always been things to worry about, but we try to find the joy where we can. I hope you guys do as well. I love my life. I love being able to make Sword and Sandals games and talk with people that are interested in them, and I love raising a little boy. Life is good for me, and I hope life is good for you. And if it isn't, reach out to your friends. Reach out to me. I'm always on Discord. I'm here on YouTube. You can find me. There's ways to find me if you ever just want to, if you need help. You don't know me, I don't know you, but if I can ever offer my gems of infinite wisdom, then I will. But thanks for writing anyway. Yago writes, is Sword and Sandals 6 going to have the crowd mood meter? Yeah, it will. I'm bringing that back because I love that, and I lost it, but I want to make it a little bit more, depending on the kind of moves you do, it goes up and down, but it maybe builds, rather than give you gold, builds up your charisma, maybe, so you can't be known as a charismatic gladiator if you're only doing boring attacks all the time, or if you only spam fireball or something. So we'll definitely bring it back, but we'll sort of try to rework it a little bit differently. Oh dear, Emperor Antares, my old nemesis, writes in, I'm a big fan of the series, as my icon and name confirms. Yeah, I love that. Emperor Antares, the evil emperor. I'm waiting for Crusader Redux and other games. Redux coming in hopefully May. He has a couple of questions. Is it true that Antares has a tragic backstory and he wasn't always evil, but he used too much dark magic and became evil? I feel like he probably was always kind of evil, but he was passionate. And Eldohath is and this second question, I'll go into that in a second. It's a dark continent, dark being mysterious. It's a land of pyramids. It's a bit like ancient Egypt, really. That's sort of what that land is like, but with a lot of rocky canyons and mountains and so on. Antares grew up in quite a royal family, and he was one of many children. But when his mother got sick, he tried to save her. When the priests wouldn't save her, he tried himself and looked into the dark arts of necromancy. He couldn't save his mother, and basically took it out on the priest. It's almost a Darth Vader backstory. I didn't realize it at the time, but now thinking about it. And he basically decided that he would never again be at the mercy of others, and he would take, control life itself, kind of thing. And that's why he's basically on a quest to sort of destroy a life and take it for himself, because he's gone mad. I think to do that, you have to be a bit evil as well. But I got to flesh out his story a bit more, and I plan on doing that too at some point, because I've only written a little bit of it. Is Antares the ruler of the continent of Eldohath, a prince or self-proclaimed ruler of the world, or is emperor a military title? It's a bit of all the above. He has left Eldohath. He doesn't rule it. They don't acknowledge him. They fear him. There are a lot of emperors. They're almost like warlords. They're all competing for power in the realm of Eldohath. They all have different pyramids and so on. And they fear him and they don't acknowledge him. But the combined might of the rest of Eldohath is more powerful than Antares at the time of the Crusades. That's why he kind of goes to Brandor to kill everything, get this undead army, and then sweep back through Eldohath, which, we haven't found out that yet, but it obviously doesn't work for him. We'll explore Eldohath in another game for sure. He also writes, after Antares got defeated in Sword and Sandals 5, is he gone for good, or could he return? I don't know. At the moment, I think he's probably gone for good. He might sort of be a shadow that, can influence things from beyond the grave or something. But as a primary antagonist, he's definitely gone. Never say never. And could you tell us more about the malevolence and the fight against Saul the One? Is malevolence a cosmic power of destruction, and is the destruction of Tritonia a more personal goal? It's an evil entity that they kind of treat as a god. Saul and the malevolence are powers that the people of Tritonia worship as gods, but they're not. They're actually essentially more powerful aliens from realms very, very distant. But for some reason, the constellation mirror has a sort of a filter on it that allows it to protect itself from gods getting through. And they're trying to get through and influence things via, influencing Antares and so on. but they hate each other. The malevolence is greedy, and it wants Tritonia, it wants other planets, it wants what it can't have. And Saul has, always hated the malevolence. That's not the malevolence's real name; it's just what they call it. I actually haven't come up with a real name for it, but we'll find out more about them in Swords and Sandals 6, as well as another primary antagonist, which I haven't revealed yet. And cool. And do you have anything about the mythology of Tritonia? Go to the Tome of Lore, because I've written a bit more about that, but I will be adding some more because I wrote a bunch about the Constellation Mirror role-playing game, which is coming later, and that has a bunch of stuff about the lore of the game as well. That'll be coming. I keep saying it'll be coming, but it will be, I promise. Just trying to write a lot about Crusader as well at the moment. So Kotor HDTV channel, who's written a bunch of questions in the past. Hi, my friend. Greetings from Romania. Greetings to Romania. I want to go to Romania one day. I just want to go and visit all those cool, Gothic castles and the beautiful forests and that kind of stuff. The Eastern European world has a kind of a big appeal to me. My question is slightly related to your series, but more to the writing part. What do you recommend a beginner to writer to start with a long, complex story or short, simpler stories? Which parts do you think is best, or both amount to the same thing in the end? Depends what you want to write. And for me, I don't have a lot of experience writing long form stuff. I've written one sort of 100-page story when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. It was a Sword and Sandals story, but it's never been released. And I wrote that with a friend. We got 100 and something pages in and abandoned it. I've written a Choose Your Own Adventure, which hasn't been released yet, which is about 25,000 words, however many pages that is. So I haven't actually written any grand books. So I don't know how to help you write a long story. So my answer would be, write short stories, or do a Cliff Notes version of the story you want to tell. So write all the key plot points, and there's the hero, and then he goes here, and then he kills this thing, and then he meets this mentor, that kind of thing. And then go back and flesh out the bits that you like in more detail. So if there's the climactic battle, why not write a few pages of that? And then write a few pages about the hero meeting the mentor, and then kind of work your way through and try to join the two. Most novelists do many versions of their stories, and that's why they take so long, as they write drafts and drafts and drafts. But I feel like the general advice, not so much mine, but in general, the advice is just write as much as you can. Write short stories to start with, and then if you enjoy that, then write more on it. The great novelist Stephen King, I read his biography. That's a good one to read, actually. Read his autobiography, because half of the book is about becoming a better writer and your guide to it. One of the things that stuck with me is he said he tries to write 1,000 words a day, no matter what. And just getting to that habit. It's like exercising or, practicing violin or whatever it is. The more you do it, the better you get. Thank you for writing, my friend. So, Senor Witcher writes, Senior Witcher says, I love Sword and Sandals 2. That was the game of my childhood. Thank you, my friend. That's everyone's favorite. Sword and Sandals 2 is also my favorite. Crutchu108 writes, hello, Oliver. Great fan of the series. All the way back since I was 7. Played them on a website in the school library. How many libraries were there where kids were playing Sword and Sandals instead of doing their work? He writes, have you played Crusader Kings 2 or Europa Universalis 4? I butchered that name, so obviously I haven't played that one, but I have seen the box. It's like a 4X kind of Civilization style game. I've played a little bit of Crusader Kings just for an hour or two, and so detailed. It looks awesome. I wish I had the time to play it. When I was younger, I would have loved a game like that, and my good friend Tom Gattenhoff has played a lot of that. That's Tom, the burly man from the Barkeep in Sword and Sandals 5 is based on Tom. Random trivia. But he tells me stories from Crusader Kings 2, and it's just mad. They've got so many expansions and so many different sort of papal quests, and the Mongols, and Turkish leaders and characters from everywhere. It's just incredible, The water's a bit metallic. Could be slowly poisoning myself. Oh dear. I'd like to play it one day. Do I plan to play Mount and Blade Bannerlord? I should play that for Games Gladiator. That would be cool. The Games Gladiator will be coming back at some point when I get a bit more time. Will the Crusader Redux have 4 game modes? Campaign, Quick Battle, Conquer the Realm, and Survival. Yeah, it will. It'll have all the game modes from the original. And I'm hoping, touchwood, I don't know if it's possible, but I'd love to have a hot seat multiplayer version as well, which isn't like playing against other computers, but hot seat is where I sit down, I have my turn, then you sit down, you have your turn. Tavern Quest does the same thing, and a lot of old games did that. Heroes of Might and Magic and so on. It's not true multiplayer, but it might be good. If I can get that working, I will. And have I read A Song of Ice and Fire and seen Game of Thrones? Yeah, I love them. I thought they were awesome. The books are incredible, and the show is awesome. Like everyone, I was a little let down by the last few seasons, but I still enjoyed them. My wife and I would sit down and watch them at night, and for that hour, they were the best thing I've seen on TV. And even with all the craziness and the plot contrivances and so on, that was still a hell of a show. And I think once the dust settles, we will look back and remember it very fondly. Once the bitter taste of disappointment that the end wasn't all it could have been. And hopefully there's more Game of Thrones stuff. I love George R. R. Martin's work. He's awesome. When you plan to make Sword and Sandals 6, waiting for this game. Yeah, once Crusader Redux is finished, I'll be starting work on that. Probably around, I'll take a little break, and then probably July, August, I'll start on that for sure, man. Thanks for the questions. So, my friends, we're at half an hour already, but we'll keep going. Casrade writes, hey there, Oliver, I got some questions for you. And I got some answers for you, my friend. What inspired you to create Sword and Sandals? I always loved these games called fighting fantasies, and they're like these books that you roll dice, choose your own adventure book. I can't speak this morning. Choose your own adventure books with dice rolling and fighting. That's what they basically were, and they were a big influence on me. There was one in particular called Arena of Death, Death Trap Dungeon and Trial of Champions. And they were big influences on the Sword and Sandals series. You go back and read them if you can, and you'll notice some similarities. They have a cool sort of a little arena section and this dungeon underneath. And I remember loving that as a kid. And I always wanted to make my own. And I made some old versions of them in basic typing, that kind of thing, text adventure versions. I just love the idea of gladiators fighting. It's sort of like a controlled battle. I love the idea of, the struggle of one character versus another, and the fight of good and evil, and magic versus might, or monsters versus people, and just turning into a big spectacle. It's kind of fun. In real life, it'd be awful, probably. You wouldn't want to see it in real life. But when you first created Sword and Sandals, do you think it would be as popular as it is now? Oh no, I didn't honestly. And it is popular, but it's still pretty underground. It's still, like I was saying earlier in this video, still many people don't know it, but it is still pretty underground, and I want to make it more popular. But I don't think anyone ever sets out to make something popular, and I just wanted to make a game that I would find fun. And I loved role-playing games, but I wanted to make a role-playing game that could be played in 5 or 10 minutes. And that's what sort of drove that one. I wanted to just have quick combat, get to the shop, buy a helmet, get back in. So it sort of was done just for my kind of impatient nature. And question 3, does pineapple belong on pizza? And I might lose a bunch of fans here, but in Australia, we have slightly different tastes. And I say, yes, I love pineapple on pizza. Ham and pineapple is an awesome pizza. And I can understand why many of you wouldn't. But I grew up, Australia's kind of a tropical climate, so we have access to a lot of delicious pineapples, and so we put pineapples on pizza. Fight me. Cheers, Kazray. Good questions, man. Good questions. Stonehunt writes, thanks for the great memories and looking forward to the new stuff. So I subscribed, hoping to hear more about the series. Thanks for subscribing. And thank you to everybody else who's subscribed. We've had nearly 500 subscribers in the last month, basically since Penguins/Critical's videos. A whole bunch of new people have joined the channel. So thanks, guys. Thank you. And I hope to do more Swords and Sandals related videos for you guys. I want to play through some of the old games, do some more trivia. I haven't done many videos on Crusader Redux. So I'm trying to make it a bit of a surprise for you guys. Thank you for subbing. Krishu writes, You asked me a question before. Lore questions. What was the automatons deal in Sword and Sandals 3? They were only picking gladiators for the Galactic Arena tournament. Did they have other plans? No, they're really only planning. They're basically intergalactic tourists, intergalactic, almost like sports scouts. So like in the NBA, scouts go overseas and go to China and Europe and so on to find the best basketballers to play in the NBA. Think of the automatons as being NBA scouts, and they came to Brandor purely to pick gladiators to fight in galactic tournaments because there's a lot of money to be made. Why the automatons themselves fought in the tournaments? Because they kind of they wanted the best of the best, and they know that in the galactic tournaments there are tougher creatures out there than them, and if they figured if you couldn't beat an automaton in battle, then you're not worthy of the galactic tournament. We'll be doing some stuff in the galactic tournament in Sword and Sandals 6. It'll probably be DLC, so I will return to that, and it'll be like the Sword and Sandals 6 story. I might remake Sword and Sandals 3 in the style of Sword and Sandals 6, and I also want to do the galactic tournament using that. That's a long time away, but we will be visiting the galactic tournament with the automatons. They also come back in Sword and Sandals 6 too. Also asks, what happened to Nameless and after his victory over Antares? He traveled to Sewell's Gateway, but 45 years later, Sword and Sandals 5 happened, and the character in Sword and Sandals 5 is not the Nameless one. I can't say much more, but he goes deep underground, deep into the Zir-Hath, which is the underground, is the name of it. And that's in the Tome of Lore. And what he's doing down there is a story for the Constellation Mirror, but it will play a role. And does the Constellation Mirror connect different planets? So theoretically, you could go there with a spaceship or dimensions. Good question. It's planets. So everything you see that's gone to Brandor has come from another planet. Sometimes in the games, I've kind of written heaven and hell and so on. That's a Tritonian concept because there is a planet that's kind of like heaven out there and one that's kind of like hell. The demons are actually from a planet. There are no sort of different planes of existence, but there's only planets in this realm anyway. And Earth is a planet. And in Spartacus, it's revealed that Chaos, the Legionnaire, actually somehow found his way through the Constellation Mirror, ended up on Earth, got captured by the Romans, learned all about the Romans and their tactics and their legions and so on, and then got stuck and had to make a demonic pact with a demon who was also trapped on Earth to get back. And that's why he's nuts, because he's just crazy. But that's why the legions of H look so Roman, because he actually went to Earth. So yeah, Earth is a factor, and other characters have come through. That's why there are sort of characters like Katsumoto, who have that sort of Japanese Asian background, and a lot of the characters have come from Earth. A lot of them have come from other planets that are Earth-like, and that's my explanation as to why there's all these different mishmashes. It's an old planet, Tritonia, but the actual settlements are only sort of 600-700 years old, all the sort of humans and that kind of thing. There you go. I love people asking me lore questions. They're really cool. So, my friends, Phase M69 writes, dude, in Sword and Sandals Pirates, when I play Survival, I kill all the enemies and it shows up the attack phase, and when I attack, it freezes and I lose my progress. Fix it. Yeah, right. I don't know if I can replicate that. I'll look at it. Does anyone else have that problem? Let me know. I need maybe a bit more information. But yeah, I'm trying to patch these games when I can. There's so many of them now that I try to do it. Whenever I release a new game, I try to go back and patch the old ones. There will be a bunch of patches coming after Crusader Redux, if you guys can wait. Mr. Rocks Films writes, can you do Sword and Sandals merchandise? Yeah, I'd love to. Once I go full time on this stuff, I'll have time to do merchandise like mugs and t-shirts, posters, that kind of stuff. What would you like? I definitely want to have a little like an Etsy shop or something like that. It's just a matter of time. So I want to find the time for it because I'm only doing this 3 days a week. I need to focus all my efforts on making the games so I can make enough money to do the other stuff. the merchandise. Would you buy merchandise? Would anyone wear Sword and Sandals stuff, or like a little fat kid hat, something like that? I would. I'd love the figures. The figures would be cool. I'd love to have little gladiators one day. We are going to pause it here, and then we will do part 2 of this video. I'm going to do it today, but I'll release it tomorrow. So for now, everybody, thanks for your questions, and part 2 is coming tomorrow. Until then, my friends, bye for now.